reason why most of you are here is because you saw this on social media. And so I thought for the strategy for today is, first, how do you grow an audience to where there are people to sell to? But once you have an audience, how do you actually monetize that for your business? Because I'm sure that's what everyone here cares about. That's what I care about. That's why you guys do social media. So first off, we'll start left to right. What is you guys' current strategy for growth on the next 12 months? But first off, what platform are you most focused on? And then how do you plan on growing that over the next 12 months?
If I had to only keep one platform, it would be YouTube. I would delete everything else all day long. One of the things I'm experimenting with is we do a lot of affordable housing. And so I'm messing around with intermixing political stuff with what bills are passing that actually help or hurt affordable housing. And I had a YouTube video 3 days ago that hit like 110,000 views, which is big for a real estate channel. Made like $3,000 just from the views. And so we're experimenting. Most important thing I could ever teach anybody about social media is your vibe attracts your tribe. And so the more political stuff you talk about, the more political people you're going to get. That's not always a good thing. So we're experimenting with that stuff. I could go get 500,000 views on every single video on my YouTube channel, but do I want those viewers is a better question. And so we're mostly experimenting with that. That one video got 3,000 subscribers, made $3,000 in 3 days. And it was because I took a Kamala Harris bill and then I cut it into how that affects real addresses in my portfolio, not fake, fictitious stuff. And my plan for growth is I look at most of the YouTubers that I look up to, and they talk about a bill or they talk about some political salacious topic, but they don't talk about any actual properties that they own. And so what I'm doing is every video starts with something political and how it affects my actual portfolio and how people in my audience can make money from it or how they would protect themselves from it. And that's our next 12-month plan.
Everybody Connected is a networking platform for female business professionals and entrepreneurs. So we are a membership-based community, and so our focus is a little bit different. We have seen the most success on Instagram. Our whole strategy is hosting events to then capture their attention, get them connected to the audience, get them connected to the community, and then that really pushes towards our memberships. Also, when you host events, I found that the content that you give whenever you host these events is only going to drive more people to find. And so those are usually the posts that go off the most is from our events and showing people what they're going to experience whenever they come. And we do that all through social media, through Instagram. And also through collaborations with influential people, not necessarily, we can't afford the paces to come to our events, but we get, the 5K, the 10K people that have a really active community to come to our events. And it's not even that we're paying them. I'll go and meet and have coffee. I'll slide in their DMs and pepper them with compliments and then be like, hey, I really think that you would enjoy this networking group. Just come and experience it. Don't worry about buying a ticket. Just come and check it out. And what's $45, $55 to bring someone influential to your event? And then we're capturing that content of them networking. And then they don't even have to necessarily share that content, but by tagging them whenever we post it, people are seeing the level of individuals that are coming to our events. That makes a big difference. Studies have shown that up to 70% of people that are included in content are going to repost it. And so that's free marketing that you're getting without even having to do a paid ad. Those are really the things that we focus on.
Yeah, I feel like trying to pick a favorite channel is like picking your favorite kid. It's like there's some good ones, and you love them all, or you hate them all. I don't know. I mean, Instagram's been my baby for 10 years. Like I'm good at Instagram. I understand Instagram. That said, I don't put a ton of effort into Instagram anymore because it's kind of what's that flywheel concept that Jim Collins talks about in Good to Great? It's like it's like a wheel. It just spins down. I just got to keep pushing it. YouTube, I think, also is, if I had to pick a favorite child, I would pick probably YouTube in terms of where we're headed. But for me, it's still a podcast, and that is YouTube because a lot of our downloads are from YouTube for the podcast. But podcast is where I still put most of my effort. I left Bigger Pockets obviously a couple years ago, and now I'm doing the Better Life podcast. And it's basically the same thing, and so people that's what people know me as, and that's what they want me as, and so I'm just going to keep giving them that. It also trickles down really nicely, right? One podcast is a dozen social media videos on every other channel. So right now, yeah, YouTube, but caveat, podcast on YouTube is still my thing.
For me, you know, each one of the platforms does its own purpose. And what I realized, my TikTok, we get a lot of views on TikTok. We got like over 2 million some views on follow on TikTok. But I realize TikTok is just for eyeballs. They don't really do a lot of conversions. But I use that to point the eyeball where I want it to go. My Instagram is where I get a lot of conversion. And we're pacing where on Instagram again. You know, the algorithm is changing. I'm going to continue to keep growing that. We added YouTube about 6 months ago. We did well on it. We're up to now like 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. But it plays a different role also. It has a long form and a short form. So for me right now, for the next 12 months, what I'm doing right now is that I am focusing on right now, keep creating good and right content for my core audience in each of the platforms. And then continue to keep converting the new views to the channel, all the different channels. And then now until the next 12 months, we're focusing on doing more interviews, right? And then more podcast clips, which does well for us. And then we are starting the Springboard podcast when I get back home. And I think that's going to do well for us. So with all those content, and we cut them up into certain platforms. And I think the YouTube is going to be part of that. We're going to take the long form and put it over there. So I would say right now, my number one, where most of my core people live is on Instagram. That's what most of the people live.
Okay, so that, if you were starting, let's say, with 1,000 followers now or very little, what would be your strategy to grow to your first 50,000?
Yeah, I would say Instagram and TikTok is where the eyeball lives. So you're gonna roll with eyeball first, and then you point it. Because I think last year I said that, you know, and I still believe it's true this year, and for a long time, eyeball is the new currency. And if you control the eyeball, you can control, you know, the currency. So if someone was starting at 1,000, I would say spend your time doing Instagram and TikTok, get the eyeball, and then point it for sure to YouTube. Because YouTube is where people want to study you. They want to really understand what this guy is saying. They can really, you know what this guy is real and that, because they spend more time with you.
How do you actually get the eyeballs, though?
Yeah.
Are you creating videos? How do you create those videos? What does that step-by-step look like?
Yeah, so for me, every Wednesday I shoot long form. Right? I spend half a day on Wednesday shooting long form, 2 or 3 other days I shoot all short form. And so when I look at my audience and I really figure out what my audience is, I've really been studying what my audience is, and I realize as I keep digging deep, I realize I ask this question is, you know, what's their pain point? What do they like and don't like? What are they seeking for? What kind of solution are they looking for so they can grow? And so what happens, I go make content for that, and I realize the more I study my audience, they're like me. They're like minorities, come from other country, want to own real estate, want to park it in real estate, want to create generational wealth for their family. And the more I see that, the more it's like me, I just keep giving them more what they want. And I do it all in short form. And when I do the case studies, I take the short version of the case study, then I do the long version of the case study on YouTube. So they can actually see the whole entire breakdown of the project from A to Z. And that's what people like. So that's how I'm creating. I'm creating all the short form to drive, to grow the eyeballs, and then I point them over to YouTube for other things.
Pace, I know that you have a lot of thoughts on this, so how would you grow from scratch today?
Oh my gosh, you got your pen and paper ready? First and foremost, your vibe attracts your tribe. What does that mean? It means that I should never try and be like Thatch, and Thatch should never be like me. I don't attract minorities, for the most part. I attract married men that are having children. And so if I try and speak to a female audience, guess what I'm going to do? Fall flat on my face, right? So be authentically yourself. And you have to understand that your story is something that there's a segment of the audience that needs to hear. And the audience is so big, guys. It is so, so, so big but there's enough space for all of the people in this room to have their own slice of that pie and tell your unique story. I don't attract immigrants because I'm not an immigrant. I attract blue-collar guys that used to be contractors and are like, F this, I hate flipping houses for other people, I want to flip houses for myself. That's my core audience. How do I want to grow this? Now, this is the thing you want to write down. Short-form content is a waste of your time if you don't have a fishing license. What does that mean? If I'm just doing short-form content just to get eyeballs, and I don't have something for them to get and for me to communicate with them off the site or off Instagram, it's a waste of time. Why? Because most people will follow you, they'll be suggested your stories the next day, and if they don't interact with you or you don't give them something they directly want, the algorithm will not feed them your content in 3 days. They'll forget. Anybody in here ever followed somebody, and then like 6 months later you remember that person, you go back and I haven't seen any of their Instagram posts? Anybody in here? Why? Because that person threw their bait out, right? Your short form content is bait. But if you don't have something to pull them into the boat with, a fishing license, you have to catch and release that fish back into the world. What is a fishing license? A fishing license is something like a spreadsheet, like, hey, here's my maximum allowable offer spreadsheet. Here's my calculator. Here's my free 3-hour course on how I underwrite X, Y, and Z. All of those things are a way for somebody to communicate with you off Instagram, okay? So what you do is you do an Instagram post. They follow you because they see you, right? This is me casting my line out into the world. Somebody follows me, Instagram will go, oh, they just followed them. The following day, they're going to be suggested your stories. And every day on my stories, I give somebody a way to get off platform and communicate with me. Could be, it's a variety of things. I have 50 different fishing licenses, right? They give me the ability to pull that fish out of the water and actually do something with that fish. Does that make sense? So a really good one would be, what's something you're really good at or kind of good at? Could even be like one video of you underwriting a property that you put behind an email. It's not a paywall, but behind like, their email. And so what I'll do is I'll make a post. It'll be a funny post. I'll get 500,000 views on it. The very next day, I'll have 5,000 new followers. My goal is on my Instagram stories, because now people that follow me actually see my stories, right? I'll say, hey, have you guys ever wanted like a free wholesale course? Here's a link. I'll get 2,500 people to click on that link, go to an email page, download my free wholesale course that somebody else charged $10,000 for. Mine's worth 25 grand, I give it away, right? I'm giving goodwill, reciprocity, and then now guess what I have? I have the ability to communicate with them off platform, which is actually what you want, because you don't own Instagram, you don't own TikTok, you don't own YouTube at the end of the day. You need to get them off the platform. The main metrics, if you guys are trying to build an audience that you should follow, is how many people's emails do I have? Subscribers mean nothing, views mean nothing. I'm telling you, somebody with 5,000 views that understands what I just told you will beat somebody who has 500,000 views that doesn't have a fishing license. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the other thing too is if I want to grow that audience, guess what? Other thing you want to write down, your brand is what people say behind your back. Not your stupid Instagram followers, not your stupid YouTube subscriber count. Your brand is what people say behind your back. What does that mean? It means that if they follow me, and then the next day I give them a $10,000 wholesale course where everybody else is trying to charge them for it, they then share that content with their friends behind the scenes. You don't see it. It's a non-trackable algorithmic thing. People are sharing all this stuff and saying, oh my gosh, this guy is always helping, always helping, always helping, always helping. I'd rather have 1,000 followers right now than what I have 500,000 followers. And man alive, if I could just show you how to do that, in 2 weeks you'd have 10,000 followers. In 6 months you'd have 50,000 followers, and they would all be your exact tribe because you're giving them exactly what they want. You're throwing out the specific bait that that fish wants, if that makes sense. I could go on for hours, but I won't.
So the next step is, when you actually have an audience, how do you monetize that? And Andrew, you built a massive online community, mainly through paid ads. So you're kind of going around building your organic social media. What's the strategy there, using paid ads to attract the person that you want?
Yeah, so just a little background. We just started with events. I was selfishly trying to surround myself with more like-minded women that were driven and we could actually have goal-oriented conversations and not just like what Taylor Swift was up to. And so I started hosting a dinner, and there was 9 of us, including myself, at the very first one. And we captured that content, and we used that content to promote the next event the next month. So every month I was hosting an event, and then we would do the paid ads. And what I love about Instagram is you can get so targeted about who you want to focus on. And so after we do those paid ads and we're selling event tickets, and we're getting new followers, you're clicking into those individual followers, and they're females, ages 25 to 55. They live in the DFW area. Their interests are entrepreneurship, climbing the corporate ladder, or whatever it is. And so those targeted ads actually work. And, you know, I was telling you earlier, we usually sell the most tickets because they are women that we're focused on within 48 hours of our event, because not a lot of women don't know until that week if they're actually going to feel like talking to anybody or like having that whole conversation, or if I want to put heels on and look cute that day. And so most of the time, 48 hours before the event is when we really, really push those paid ads. And our whole funnel is use that content from past events to then promote the next event, get them to arrive, get them bought in on the community, and that's really what it is. I mean, all these guys up here, they have something to teach, right? I can't necessarily teach these women anything, and like a lot of the women that come to my events are a lot smarter than me. But I create the environment for them to come and connect. I create the environment for them to meet their future mentor or to meet someone that could connect them to a job opportunity. So I just create that space for them. So you don't necessarily have to be the smartest at flipping houses or the smartest at buying real estate or whatever it is. But if you can create that environment that you're looking for, then, you know, people are going to start coming. And I started mine because I couldn't find a women's networking group that really fit my vibe, like you said, like your tribe, your vibe attached to your vibe. I would go to women networking events and they were just very stuffy, they were very structured, it was boring, and I had to wear this stupid name tag that ruined my outfit. Like, I didn't like it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start my own. And now we have a DJ, but I mean, the music's at a decent level, so you can still have a good conversation. We got good drinks, good food, and then we bring in 3 speakers. So we'll bring in 2 women from corporations, VP level, and then we'll bring in an entrepreneur. And so I'd say about 60% of our attendees are in the corporations, and the rest are entrepreneurs. Some do both. And so everyone, not only you're getting to network, but then you're getting to get a little nugget of knowledge from someone that you admire. And then at the end of the event, they're coming up to me like, how do I become a part of this? How do I join? Because you made them feel something. I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but 2/3 of American adults are classified as lonely since COVID, because we've replaced in-person community with social media communities, and it's been this poor substitute for fulfillment. And so if you can bridge that gap between what you're creating on social media and give them an in-person, like actual tangible relationship that leads to something, that leads to knowledge, that leads to a connection, then you've got them, and now they're really bought into what you're selling.
Yeah, I think the main theme that we're seeing here is the type of content that you make depends on who you're attracting. And so you have to be clear of who is the person that you want to attract on the other side of the screen. I do all the YouTube strategy for Ken McElroy, and what they were doing before was you were thinking about what gets the most views. And views don't actually mean anything when you run a massive business like Ken. His business is what matters. And so we have to nail down, Ken, who do you want to attract? Well, it's accredited investors. So then how do you structure your content that's going to attract accredited investors? And then the next question is, how do you get in front of those people? And we don't run any paid ads. And so it's, how do you make a targeted video that wants to be seen by an accredited investor, but also have a wide fishnet where you can still attract a lot of views? Because some people would not be interested in investing in a deal, but they would be interested in going to a live event. And there's infinite ways to monetize an audience, but you have to be clear on who you're advertising for. And then how do you actually attract those people? So, Brandon, you just recently are getting really into YouTube. What's the plan to actually grow a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's a good question. You tell me. You're doing a good job. Yeah, you just copy whatever Ken's doing, and then it just tends to work. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of true, actually.
But that is what people do. And the problem is, everyone attracts a different audience. He attracts immigrants, you attract blue-collar workers, you attract women. And so when you a lot of YouTube strategists, what they tell you to do is copy what the best people are doing and try to replicate that video. The problem is you guys have different audiences and different objectives. And then, therefore, you are not going to get the same result.
Yeah. It's a great point you made about, you know, what kind of audience do you want? In the beginning, all I wanted, I was raising money for Open Door Capital, so I wanted to create investors, that was it. But now I have a lot more things. I have a lending company, I've got 3 different education companies, so I do want to be wide enough to be able to get people in all sorts of areas. But when you're just general, it's like, let me teach you how to build wealth for real estate. Honestly, people don't really care that much about that. I mean, they do, right? But it's just, there's so much of that content out there. So trying to be more specific, which I like based when you're talking about the property address, something most people don't do. Now it's specific. And so trying to get a little more specific with things is kind of my strategy with YouTube. You know, you mentioned earlier the political thing, Pace. What I found is that anytime I just have an opinion, it just does so much better than when I don't have an opinion. And that's on YouTube or on social media. Like if I could just be like, yeah, the election's coming up and here's all the nuanced, and I hate this, by the way, I hate this. But it's like, the truth is there's nuances in everything, but you can't be a nuanced person on social media and do well. So it's like you have to kind of make a point about it and be a little bit, opinionated. You can't be like, well, you know, the birth strategy is actually pretty good, but sometimes it's not. Here's the reasons it's good. Here's the reasons it's not. That video won't do well. If you're like, the birth strategy sucks, and here's why. David Green's a liar. You know, like, that video would do really, really well. So, to answer your question, I'm trying to be a little more opinionated. Not a jerk about it. I'm not going to tell me what David Green's a liar. I love David. But, like, being a little more opinionated, like having an opinion and then just sticking to it. And then I've always been a fan. It worked 10 years ago. It's what built Bigger Pockets is YouTube. It's what's working now for me. Is I just look for videos that have done well with somebody else. This is my entire YouTube strategy, by the way, if you want to know, entirely. I'm not a I don't even know the word for this, the opposite of SEO. Like, I'm not like a trendy YouTube guy. I don't want to be a trendy YouTube guy. I'm not going to make a video that's like, hey, the Federal Reserve just said this. I'm just not that smart. I don't really care. So instead, I want to find out what are people searching in YouTube. And so I just look for people who have small accounts but large number of views on a video. Right, very simple. Like the video is, my best video of all time for Bigger Pockets was, I saw somebody made a video called How to Analyze a Rental Property, and then in parentheses it said on the back of a napkin. And this person who did it had maybe 5,000 followers, and the video had 100,000 views. Well, what does that tell us? It tells us that people are searching for it. They're not her followers looking at it. Now, if Dave Ramsey said How to Analyze a Rental Property, and it had 100,000 views, that wouldn't tell me anything. He's got 5 million subscribers. So I'm looking for the one small audience, big video count. So I find one, and let's say it's 3 cash flowing strategies that work for me in 2024. I'm going to make it. I'm like, okay, well, that one clearly people care about, whether it's from an they type in it or they just see it. Either way, that triggers them. So I'm going to make a video that is better than whatever that one is. I just look at that, I watch it, I say, what was good? How can I do better? And then how can I make it my own? Again, Vibe Attraction Drive. I don't want to copy it. Their vibe. I don't want to copy their style. I want to copy the topic. And then I'll make that video, and it'll buy me 4 cash flow strategies that I'm buying or that I'm doing in 2024. And then whenever I do that, almost every time without fail, go look at Bigger Pockets' YouTube channel, look at mine. Almost every one of the top videos that are long, like long tail SEO, they're ones that we just copied from somebody else. And it works all the time.
Yeah, so what Brandon's talking about right now is an outlier strategy. And there's tools that you can search to find these types of videos. So one of them is 1 out of 10 at something like that. And then the other one's ViewStats that Mr. B started. So you can search topics and then set outliers for people's channels. And so you can...
And I've been doing this manually the whole time, and there's tools.
Yeah, those tools are very good because there's so much demand to look for outlier videos on other people's channels. But the key is you have to put a unique spin on it. Yes. If you're just copying someone, it's not you, which is the main problem. And so what I like to do with Ken is, how do you come up with a tailored video that only Ken can make that can never be replicated? Because that's where the real asymmetry is. When you're using a personal story from a personal deal and then putting a fun spin on it that makes people really interested. And that will kind of lead us to, once you have this audience, Pace, you're the expert here, how do you monetize an audience?
Oh my gosh, I'm just trying to do that. I mean, I could go into all sorts of things. I have a keynote today that they're having me talk a lot more about this. I never talk about this stuff, ever. So, because I don't really know that anybody really cares, but Obviously, there's a whole room of people that do. So I'll give you guys a really easy one. On a yearly basis, I send about $20 million a year in revenue to a company called Prime Corporate Services. Okay, you guys can write it down. I'll give you the owner's name. You guys can all text him and become an affiliate for their company. I chose not to be an affiliate with them, and I chose to ask for equity in the owner in the company. You get to a point where affiliates are not cool anymore, because what will happen is the people you affiliate for will go around you, they'll try and renegotiate you, that will just happen. And you either have to own the platform that you're pushing, or B, get some sort of equity so nobody cuts you out. I've had multiple companies cut me out of things, 6-figure checks, and then I just go build a platform and then bury it at the end of the day. And I don't talk about it, I just do it. And one of the companies I really love is Prime. Why? Why do I love Prime? Because everybody needs what Prime has, which is an LLC. I don't care if you're multifamily, I don't care if you're doing that really stupid strategy called BRRRR strategy. By the way, what Brandon was talking about is I call it the avocado strategy. If I made a video of like why avocados are pretty good, would you watch that? What if I had made my title said avocados are the worst thing on the planet? Parentheses, F avocados. People are going to watch that over avocados are okay. So you always have to have an opinion. Avocados are better than everything else, or avocados are the worst thing on the planet. That's really how you have to do it, and it's sad. And Brandon's right. It is really sad nobody clicks on the boring stuff. LLCs, everybody has to have one. So I'm now going to the top of my funnel. And I also find things that everybody not only needs, but they actually really need. Why? Because I've looked at the pattern of the people that I talk to. I'll see somebody at an event in January of 2021, I see them in January 2024 at the same event, and I go, how is your business going? Oh, I'm working, 4 years, I haven't done a deal yet. I'm like, what's the name of your company? What do you think their answer is? It won't happen. So an LLC is really a psychological attachment to your business, and it's way more than that. So I've done the deep dive, and I brought that into my conversation of like, hey, you're going to buy a BRRRR deal. You're going to buy a sub-2 deal, seller finance deal, you're going to wrap a house or buy a business. The first thing you literally need is an LLC. Because what ends up happening is you get it under contract, or let's say you're calling a seller, or you're calling an agent. How many agents in here would respect me if I send an LOI or an offer to you and it was in my personal name? But I told you I'm a real estate investor, right? So really they need, and everybody in your audience needs an LLC. So remember that fishing license I told you about? What I would do is I would get on a Zoom with Prime Corporate Services. I've done this with Mauricio too. But you get on a Zoom with Prime Corporate Services and you say, hey, I have 5 questions for you. I want to know exactly what the right LLC is, how to hold my properties and my this. And you do a 2-hour interview with them and you cut it up into like a free LLC course. It's free. All they have to do is give you their email to get it. So then you go on your Instagram and you talk about why you need an LLC. They then go, they sign up, they go spend money at Prime Corporate Services, they get an LLC, and you get paid. Now, you have a responsibility when you're monetizing. Because I'm not going to promote a company that cannot handle my audience. I've done that before. I've done it in a way where summer of 2021, I pushed 400 people to a company, a large company, big YouTube following, I will not say their name. And not only did I not get paid, but can I cuss on the stage? I don't know. They shit the bed. And then my audience came back to me and said, how dare you push us to this company where I'm still dealing, you won't answer the phone, I've spent money with them, And so you really realize you have a responsibility to find the best quality companies on the planet. And as you do that filtering process and you find those companies, Prime Corporate, I did the work for you, there you go. You now have a value to provide to that audience member. They don't have to go through the crap you went through to go find the right company to go do the LLC with. So being an affiliate, I think Prime probably, if I chose to get affiliate income, which I chose not to, they'd probably send me a check every year for $2.2 million, is I think what it is. So like significant money can be made from the most basic things that you don't even realize. And I chose that ownership because I'm just at that level, right? I have enough real estate, I don't need affiliate income. I care more about a big exit. So monetization is what does your audience need in order for them to set up their business? What's another, you guys want to hear a couple of other affiliates? Yeah. Okay, Mandisa, where you at? Hi. Okay, Mandisa, you guys should all know Mandisa. She's my rep over at PadSplit. I don't know what I get paid, But it's like every time somebody signs up and actually onboards a property on the platform, I get paid $1,000. Now, I went through 4 companies before I found PadSplit, and PadSplit actually serves and takes care of my clients properly, so I now have a responsibility to let them cut the line of having to go through those 4 companies to find PadSplit. I deserve to get paid for that. Right? And I look at that, and a lot of people go, oh, you're affiliating, you're pushing sales. No, bitch. I am saving somebody 2 years of their life. I'm saving them 2 years of their life. I'm providing a service to them. How dare I not provide that service to them? Right? And when you go through that process of finding really good quality people, I see Thatch do it, I see Brandon do it, you have the responsibility to give your audience the shortcut to the appropriate company that can actually help them. So PadSplit's another one. Last one I'll give you. Lending is a really, really easy thing to promote because what does everybody need in real estate? Capital. So why can't I go white label? I white label, if you guys don't know what white label means. White label means I go find a lending company and I put my own name on it, my own website, and when people go to that website, they actually are applying for a lending company I don't own, but I get paid. I've got one company I haven't even talked about in 2 years, and I get a check from them $40 grand a month, something like that. I haven't even talked about it in 2 years. Because that type of client repeats, right? They keep doing flips, but they stop doing burrs because they run out of money. See what I'm saying? Avocado. Like you'll never hear me say a good thing about burr, even though burr, I did 20 burrs last year. I love the burr strategy, but I can't talk about the burrs okay. You see how that works? You'll never see in my content me talk positively about the burr strategy. Because you have to be the avocado guy, one or the other. This room, I've never said any of these things out of my mouth, by the way. I hope you guys realize, like, you have the guys that I follow that I like. This is such a great panel. Holy crap. So, lending company. I would go to Brandon, okay? Here's what I would do. And actually, when Brandon said he has a lending company, I immediately thought, ooh. Yeah. Can I white label you? Or maybe you are white labeling? I'm white labeling. Okay, cool. So, you can do that. He can introduce you to somebody. Another really great thing to make money from. Talk to your securities attorney, Mauricio, first. Another way to monetize is doing fund of funds. There was a point where before I launched my fund, credit to this guy, he convinced me to start a fund. I was going to go and do a fund of funds for Brandon a couple of years ago. I can go raise money for his open door capital. And I can make money and I can get equity from that. Right? Mary, your mind's thinking? She's immediately like, Brandon, we need to talk. So I would go to Brandon after this. And this also gives you a really great way to network. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time. Hopefully this is valuable for you guys. But if, right after this, if you guys go to Brandon, don't go to Brandon and say, can I take your photo? Say, can I take your photo and do a fund of funds with you? Figure out how to make money with the man. And now he'll become your friend. And that's a really great way to monetize. And you don't have to be the person finding the projects and running the projects and managing the stuff. You just have to raise a little bit of money from your audience and give that money to Brandon, who has all the credibility, and you get paid for doing so. Ask your securities attorney, Mauricio, where are you? Where's your hand? That's a securities attorney that I was referred to by Brandon. So hopefully that was helpful.
So what you're talking about is, I'm sure everyone sees the value of having an online presence because you're making millions of dollars per year just making videos online without any additional work for you or very little. And so there's massive demand to actually grow an audience. And so you have to think, how do you grow an audience? And everyone's talking about different things, and what you keep on mentioning is a central theme of primal branding, which is how do you become a figure that people are not just listening to you for any sort of advice, but they want to listen to you for you. And that is using your unique experience that you have. And Thatch, I don't know anyone that does this better than you, because you're such a strong personality type, you're attracting the exact people that you want to come to you. Is there a strategy behind that, or just being yourself, which is probably what you're doing?
Yeah, you know, when I originally started social media like 4 years ago, I was really trying to be, you know, like the professional. You know, like the guy who graduated from Harvard, you know what I mean? My ass real tight, you know what I mean? And you know, and then when I watch more videos, it's cringe, you know? And when I see other people do the same thing, I can just tell they're not doing them. And then one day, Lorenzo worked with me, I was just being me, right? And they shot a video just being me, talking about real estate, just venting about real estate, venting about my opinion on everything and that. And then we posted it, and then people loved it. They're like, man, this guy's real, I like this guy. And then that's when I realized that people really everybody can see the realness in you. Especially on video. It don't matter if you think you know, they don't know, but they know. And I just started making video just being me. And then from there, you know, every time I have a thought about something to my audience, I make these videos, and then every time I do that, people appreciate it. And so, but yeah, today I just make a video of just being me and figure out what my audience wants, and I just give them more of that. And I just keep doubling down on that, doubling down on that, doubling down on that, and they love it. You know what I mean? And it works. It's just been magical on my social media.
Great. And what Pace was talking about earlier when he was saying you provide additional free value to all of the people who are interested in your stuff, that's just called a lead magnet. Yeah. And that is taking someone off Instagram or YouTube or a podcast to where you can get their data, which is what is useful. And so, Andrea, with Instagram, you're doing something very interesting where the way that you're communicating with people, because you have a smaller audience, it's much easier to do this than if you have 1 million followers like some of these guys. What is your strategy for when you're actually communicating with these people to take them off?
Yeah, to double down on what he said, to just be genuine. I mean, I know from personal experience, I competed in pageants for 7 years. I got first runner-up at Miss Texas 3 years in a row, and I was called myself the Buffalo Bills of pageantry because I would just never win. And sorry if you're a Bills fan in here. And but I ended up winning in my last year because I showed up as myself. My pageant coaches used to tell me to kind of dumb down my accent a little bit, don't be so East Texas. They would pick out my dress, all that stuff. So my last year I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go be, East Texas, grew up on a ranch in Andrea and see what happens. And I ended up winning. And so a lot of my community can feel how genuine I am at the events. When you show up at my events, I mean, every month we have a networking happy hour. We have between 80 and 150 women that come every month. And I force everybody to hug me. Like, you're about to feel some love when you come in this room, and they can feel the genuineness. And so whenever, like he said, when you're posting videos, don't try to be someone, and don't try to be Pace, or don't try to be Thatch whenever you're on your video. Like, just show who you are, and people can sense that genuineness. And I think that's how we get people to show up and then get them to buy into the membership community. I mean, we just started doing the membership 8 months ago, and we have over 400 women that have bought in already. And so I think since 2019, we have over 4,500 emails for our email list just from hosting events. And so whatever industry you're in, it's very easy to just host a little happy hour. Like I said, mine started really small. You utilize Eventbrite, you're capturing their data, their phone number, their email, and you're already creating an email list just from simply hosting a happy hour. And then utilizing that content to then force people, to understand what they're going to experience at the event utilizing Instagram. And
how do you use Instagram DMs?
I'm pretty ruthless with just sliding in people's DMs. Like I said, I pepper them with compliments. I tell them what I admire about them. I think making sure that you have a hard-hitting bio is really important, that you're coming in with some validity. A lot of people, I mean, for myself, it was hard for me. I'm kind of a down player with my accomplishments. I'm a very humble individual, and so it took a lot of training to be like, no, you have to stand on what you've accomplished so people know what you're working with. And so if you come with a really solid bio and you're sliding in DMs, I mean, I did cold calling for 12 years in sales, and so it's very similar, but just trying to make it less salesy. And I'm usually like, hey girl, how's it going? Like, I love this piece that you did on this podcast, or I love that you're so, like, you love to look good, but you're about your business too. Like, would love to have you come check out our happy hour. And I do that with people that I want to attend for free, that I'm covering their ticket price, or that I just want them to attend. And for them, it's like, oh, she thinks that I belong now. Because the women that come to our events, they like to dress up, they like to look good. And so the women are like, I don't know if I'll fit in, like, I don't know if I can do that. And if the founder is sliding in your DMs like, hey girl, I think you'd be a great fit to join us and like come along, it's like this extra boost of confidence that they belong. That's all people are looking for, is that they belong to something and they're welcome. And so if you can give them that little warm fuzzy feeling, they're going to want to be a part of your community.
Something you said about sliding into people's DMs. Like, sliding into DMs is such a great strategy for building connections. Just a quick tip for everybody. How many of you have the little blue check mark you pay for it with Instagram? Look around. Do you know how to guarantee that I go and check out your profile? Slide in my DMs with a little blue check mark. I instantly will go click on you to see if you're somebody I should, like, it sounds really bad, I'm saying, if you're somebody I should talk to. What I mean by that is I get 1,000 DMs a day. About 12 of them have a little blue check mark. Those, I will click every single time on that. I will see who you are. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, somebody has 50 followers. It doesn't matter. I instantly will pay attention because it has to stand out from the 1,000 DMs that I get. So if you want to network with people that may have a large audience, it's like $10 a month or something, or $5 a month. It's not a lot of money, but just having a little bit of credibility is huge. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So we have a minute and a half left, and so there's not much time. I do want to slightly disagree with the YouTube strategy that we were talking about earlier, just for fun. And you guys are
avocado, right? It's avocado. Don't lie to disagree. Strongly disagree.
It was more so, how do you turn a boring subject interesting? And that's all packaging. And so the number one thing with YouTube is it's a complete democratized system. If someone clicks on your video and they watch it, YouTube has the incentive to show it to as many people as possible until people stop clicking on it and stop watching it. And so then it's your job when you're making a video to make something that someone is interested in. So you have to spark curiosity. You want to almost have this unfulfilled desire that someone's going to have, that they see when they see you on the homepage, that you're promising to desire in the video or to fulfill in the video. And then the intro is you fulfilling that unfulfilled desire that you promised in the title and thumbnail, and then reconfirming it with a secondary hook afterwards to get another unfulfilled desire. And so it's really just human behavior that you're trying to influence throughout your videos. And I think it's not as difficult to make a boring subject interesting as people think. Just for example, with Ken, because we're out of time, not many people would be interested in debt and why you should get into debt. But you can put a unique spin on it to make everybody interested in it. And what all we did with Ken was, he said, hey, I'm $750 million in debt. The unique part is, here's what banks don't want you to know about money. And so that if you can get a video like that that gets 700,000 views, everyone who's interested in debt is going to be interested in that video, but you're also casting a wide net because you're putting the curiosity piece on it. But we're out of time. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that.
That's good.